Well, let's get started. Welcome everyone to the Medical Marijuana Wellness Webinar. Tonight's subject is going to be arthritis and medical cannabis. And I want to thank everyone for joining us. This is not only a popular subject to discuss, but one that affects the lives of many, many people, young, old, and with or without various conditions. It's something that can be first disturbing just to have, but also debilitating at some point in time. So I thought I'd let you know we'll have some good information today to hopefully help you get your life back. As you know, the objective of these webinars is real simple. If we can help one person get their life back from watching this webinar, we feel we've been successful, and naturally we'd like to have more than that. But our goal is to be able to really help people be able to move forward. These webinars are put on to provide factual information. That's all the information has been vetted, and we want to make sure we're bringing you very factual, very straightforward information that's been vetted by doctors, by pharmacists, and by clinicians, so you can get the straight scoop on what's going on with medical cannabis. Now, there's a couple of housekeeping things. If you look at the bottom of your screen, right down over here, you'll see a little double button that says Q&A. Please feel free to ask questions. We are here to answer your questions, and we'll try to do that either during or after the presentation, but please feel free to ask us whatever questions you have. Again, we're here for you. And we're here to make sure that you get some information that you need to help yourself. There is a chat button, which you'll see more over here. And the problem with the chat button is we'll monitor it. We really be paying more attention to the Q&A button if you have some questions that are out there. And again, thank you very much for joining us. Tonight I have a special guest, a co-host, Cassidy Cassidy Welch, and she's from Trulieve. Cassidy is a very informed lady about this particular subject in medical cannabis. And so I'd like to introduce you to her. And Cassidy, say hello and give us a few words about who you are and what you do.
Thank you so much, Mark. Hi, everyone. My name is Cassidy Welch, and I work with Trulieve. We are the first and largest medical marijuana treatment center in the state of Florida. We have 82 dispensaries, and I've been working with Trulieve for a little bit over 2.5 years now. So I started off as a consultant. I worked there for a little over 2 years, and then I was recently promoted into this role. So now what I do is I'm officially a Trulieve community educator. So when Mark asked me if I would pop in and co-host this webinar, I said absolutely. Cannabis is not only my profession, but it is my passion. So I'm really happy to be here. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat, and we will get back to you as soon as possible. Thanks so much for having me.
And you've probably dealt with a few people that have used medical cannabis to get their life back. Is that correct?
Yes, maybe so. Yeah, so if any of y'all are patients and you've been over to that Deerfield Beach dispensary, you may have seen me there. I may have dispensed you some of your medication. But yeah, hopefully I see some familiar faces here tonight.
Great.
Thanks.
So I have a presentation. I don't want to make this slideware, but I do want to give some information via presentation so that we can have a basis to have a discussion about arthritis and medical cannabis. Can everyone see the screen? Are we good?
Yeah, looks good.
Okay. So as we know, we did the introduction with Cassidy. I do want to point out that starting this webinar, that again, we're looking at providing safe and supportive information that's judgment-free. We're not here for any political or any other reason. We're here to really help people, and that's the objective of this thing. And we spend a lot of time with doctors, with pharmacists, with clinicians, making sure that we have accurate information for you. So that's why we're putting these on, because it's really hard sometimes to just research and find information on various topics. Now, although we're providing a lot of information, I do want to mention that your doctor, you're both your general practitioner as well as your medical marijuana doctor, are also very important. We're not trying to take them out of the loop. We're trying to actually support them and really help them get you and them information that can help you with this particular condition. And as a follow-up to this webinar, you will be getting an email. That email will have a link to the video that you're seeing tonight. It'll have a link to the presentation, so you can be able to look through the presentation. It'll have some research notes and some offers, some special offers, some discounts that'll be out there. So you don't have to take a lot of notes. You'll be able to get those notes electronically, and trying to make things very simple for you. And again, that email will come out. You'll probably get it this weekend. It'll probably be available on Monday. Sometimes it's available earlier on Friday, but but we're trying to get it out to you as early as possible so you can do the follow-up that's here. And please feel free to tell your friends that haven't been able to join us to be able to look at this. Let's get into the meat of the presentation itself. Arthritis, what is it? Arthritis is something that the symptoms that you see are you have problems with inflammation in your joints, you have redness, you have swelling, you have sensations of heat. Arthritis is something where when you have this going on, you can feel it, and it can be restrictive. It can be painful, but it also can be restrictive. But what types of arthritis are out there? Probably the most popular, or that you hear a lot about, is called RA, which is rheumatoid arthritis. And rheumatoid arthritis is serious inflammation of the joints. It can be very painful. My godmother had it, and it was very, very painful for her, and it basically restricted her life. She was a baker, and it made it hard for her to do her baking and just lead her normal life. It's something that's just not fun. There's also osteoarthritis that comes along, and osteoarthritis is a little bit different. This is something where you actually lose some cartilage in your joints. So it's something that it affects the joints, and this is where you find a lot of this comes in your hips, your hands, your knees, your spines, and you're finding again that inflammation, but it's also cartilage as well as inflammation that's hurting you. So it's kind of a double whammy that's out there. Underlying all these conditions, it's an underlying condition, by the way, arthritis, for things like fibromyalgia, lupus, injuries to the joints. I know we had an email prior to starting here to have a particular condition that they were going to ask if we could handle. I'll actually bring that question up. But all these are underlying conditions, meaning they are related to arthritis. And the main thing that the people should pay attention to is it's related to a lot of inflammation, and it has to do with joints. So that's what we're really addressing this here. So medical cannabis and arthritis. What doesn't it do? Well, first of all, it's not a cure. I don't think they have a cure for arthritis today, and I don't want people to perceive that this is a cure for arthritis. It isn't. It's something, again, we have, I like to tell people we have maybe fairy dust and maybe a magic wand. Again, we have fairy dust, but we don't have a magic wand. It's not going to cure you, but it will help you. It won't reverse any of the processes that are there. In other words, if you lost some, for example, cartilage and things in your joints, it's not going to reverse them. But more importantly, you can't have a lethal overdose. It's not going to kill you. Medical cannabis is not going to kill you. There's never been a reported death from medical cannabis ever, and that's very different than a lot of opioids that you see out there, or they'll give you a lot of pharma drugs. And if you take a look at the safety of that, almost every one of them has some sort of legal or at least lethal consequences to them, one way, shape, and form. You are not heading down that path with medical cannabis at all. Cassidy, you have some comments on that?
I do, actually. Just to emphasize, I know that it's underlined here. It cannot cause you to overdose. No one has ever died from a cannabis overdose, okay? And the reason is so we're gonna go into this a little bit later on in the presentation tonight, but you have these cannabinoid receptors all over your body, including in your brain and your spinal cord, your hands, your arms, legs, all over the place. But there are none in your medulla oblongata, which regulates your breathing. So the worst thing that could potentially happen to you, you may fall asleep, dry eyes, you may get thirsty, you may get the munchies, but you cannot lethally overdose on cannabis. And I just want to make that clear.
I think that's important because I think we get into a world where there's a lot of problems with those, and I think it's something that should be addressed. Now, what can it do? What's the good news? First of all, it'll reduce your pain level. If you're getting pain from arthritis, you'll see your pain level go down, and I think that's important because now you're in a situation where less pain actually not only helps you conduct your life, but also I think, at least for my particular case, I get less grouchy with less pain. It will reduce the inflammation. In other words, one of the things that makes arthritis such a tough condition is that inflammation causes your joints to not be as flexible, but that inflammation also causes pain. And so by reducing that inflammation, it's reducing the pain associated with that inflammation. There's a lot of perception that people have that I'm using medical cannabis, and so therefore it's helping me with the pain. And in many cases it is, but how it's doing that is by reducing the inflammation, it's reducing the pain. And at the same time, when you're using it, medical cannabis helps your overall health of your body. I think you'll find that you've probably heard from a number of people that they've tried medical cannabis. They took it for one particular reason. I know my mother started taking it 4 years ago because she was diagnosed with breast cancer. And by the way, she's still alive and doing well. And what she found out was it also helped with her glaucoma. So what I'm trying to point out is that it does have, that's called the entourage effect. You take it for one thing and it really helps you with other things. We'll talk about the entourage effect and how that, and why it works that way. But you'll find that it really helps your overall health of your body. And the main thing it helps, especially in this day and age and with this environment, it helps a lot with what I call your anxiety and your stress. I mean, it's hard to live in the last year with what's going on without saying that your anxiety and stress level didn't go up somewhat, if you really think about it. And so this has really helped quite a bit with all of those things. So medical cannabis is something that, from the standpoint of helping with your pain, your inflammation, your overall health, and your stress, that's the positives that you'll find from using medical cannabis. And again, if you're heading down, or you're looking at that as an option, it's something to really pay attention to as well. Now, does cannabis help with arthritis? So I thought I'd bring up, there's a lot of research that's done in this particular space. Not a lot of research done in the United States because it's a Schedule I drug, but there is a lot of research that's been done overseas, especially in countries like Israel, Spain, Germany, England. But here in the United States, there are some studies that have been done, and there are people that have addressed the issue of arthritis. And one of them I found was the Harvard Health publication. Harvard has gone out and taken a look at cannabis. And what they did was they found out that 1 of 5 people that the orthopedic surgeons were talking to about pain were using cannabis products in one way, shape, and form. That's something that was found actually in Canada, that many people with not just arthritis, but just orthopedic pain in general, look turning to cannabis as an option for that pain that's out there. And I had an artificial knee replacement 2.5 years ago. And I know I turned to medical cannabis, and it was a wonder that I did that. It did a lot for me. But it's something. But what I'm saying is, by using cannabis, you're not being abnormal. In fact, it's something people naturally migrated to. What's interesting is when they did it, 9 out of 10 people that used medical cannabis felt it was effective in helping them with their condition. 4 out of 10 of them felt it would decrease their reliance on other pain medications. In other words, not only did it reduce the pain, but it reduced the reliance on other things like opioids. They typically got off them. It became a gateway drug, not an entrance drug. And 6 out of 10 people reported that it was much more effective than other drugs that they were taking. And again, that's putting it up against the pharma, that's putting it directly up against the pharma drugs that are out there. So both in Canada, what they found was that here in North America, was that in fact it was something that had a very positive impact on people that had arthritis, for example, as a condition. And the Arthritis Foundation, when they did their poll, they found out that 29% of people with arthritis were in fact using CBD, and the reason, and not medical cannabis, CBD, and that nearly 80% of the respondents were either using CBD or had used it in the past or had considered using it. So it's something that's on the radar for a lot of people with arthritis. It's getting to be much more popular, and I think that we're finding out that it does in fact work to help with a lot of different situations.
Of course, it helps with so many different types of symptoms and ailments and diseases. And just a little side note here, there are over 500,000 cannabis patients in Florida today. So, your next door neighbor may be using a cannabis product right now. It's really cool.
Yeah, and that's something that's important, is that I think a couple of years ago, there was almost, people were embarrassed to say they were part of it, or almost a stigma. I think today, it's becoming more mainstream. And I know that in the community I live in, they found out I'm in the medical cannabis business. I can't go in the clubhouse or even walk into Publix without having people talking to me about the subject. And that's very different than it was 5 years ago. But also, I think it's important to point out the Arthritis Foundation found out that in many cases, it helped people with not only their physical functions, but also with their sleep, their well-being, and a lot of people reported, some people, I should say, a minority of people reported it helped with their pain and their stiffness. So there is some research out there by credible organizations like Harvard and the Arthritis Foundation that kind of point in the direction that medical cannabis is in fact effective. Now, is there research that's been done? And the answer is yes. I'm going to put these studies up. I'm not going to go through them. I'm just going to show, there'll be again in the presentations if you want to look at them, and in the resources part of the email that we send you, there'll be a page that you'll be able to go to see these. You'll be able to link to these particular articles. But these are all from PubMed. And what PubMed is PubMed is a publication by the National Institute of Health, the United States government, and any research that's credibly been done gets vetted, and if it's credible, it gets put into PubMed. So this is research that's been done on this particular subject. Now, we mentioned earlier that it's a Schedule I drug in the United States and there's no research being done. And if you look at all of these studies, they're being done, again, they're from Israel, they're from Spain, they're from a lot of different places. But there is research being done and it is being documented in PubMed. It's out there. I say that because I get a real kick out of a lot of politicians who say we need to do more studies about medical cannabis. And yet, if you take a look at our own research database, we have over 33,000 studies that are done, which is almost 33 times more than anything else has ever been studied in this particular field. So it's something that's important, that it is being researched internationally, and it's something that does in fact work. SAFE, which is the Americans for Safe Access, also have taken a look at cannabis, and they've reported that it, again, shown in their particular studies and their particular documentations and people, the cannabis has demonstrated the ability to improve not only mobility, but to also to reduce morning stiffness and inflammation. And that, in fact, is true. I know the people I know who are using medical cannabis are using CBD and addressing arthritis. They have found very positive. Again, 9 out of 10 times they found a positive response to that. So the documentation, the research is almost overwhelming on this particular subject. More importantly, I had a situation come up. This is who we call Nana. Nana was the grandmother of one of the people we knew. We did medical marijuana seminars for 3.5 years. We did 135 of them in Florida. We did them in the villages almost every month. And Barrett was one of the marketing people for the local Daily Sun. And his mother was suffering from arthritis. We talked to Barrett, and so she actually brought her, at that time, her mother was 88 years young. She's actually 90 years old now. She brought her in, he brought her to one of the seminars. Her husband, Pop, was a very colorful guy. He was actually very much against her looking at medical cannabis. He felt she turned into the Marlboro Man. She'd have a bunch of problems that were there. But she hadn't had a full night's sleep literally in years. She was up at 3 and 4 in the morning from pain and discomfort. She wasn't having fun in her life. What we did was we got her a medical marijuana card. We got her into using medical cannabis. And I do have to tell you, it takes about 3 to 4 weeks, maybe as long as 6 weeks, to really start seeing the effects, because arthritis is something that is what I call a real sticky disease. It's something that's really hard to address, but medical cannabis will work. For example, Parkinson's takes about 3 months to see the effects of it, but it will work. It just takes a while for it to be able to get there. Now, have patience. So she started, we got her card. About 2 weeks after she started her medication, she started feeling better. In fact, she hadn't had a full night's sleep in years, and close to 10 years. And she started noticing she was getting a full night of uninterrupted sleep, which that by itself was very relieving. And she was telling me she was almost crying. She was so happy that she was able to just get some sleep and feel rested, literally for the first time in a long time. She also used not only sublingual drops, but she used topicals on her hands and her joints to ease the pain and to help her sleep. Well, what happened was not only did she lose a little bit of weight, but she was able to. She was at a point before she started, she couldn't hold a remote control. She couldn't hold utensils if she went to dinner. She couldn't hold a knife or a fork. She couldn't obviously hold a glass. She was very much self-conscious and a recluse, and she found that she, in fact, could do that. She can now use the remote control. She now could go out to dinner. She now felt good that she could be in public. She basically got her life back, and that's something that she told me. She came to a webinar about 6 months after we got her on medical cannabis, and she had tears in her eyes. What I found amazing is this is a lady who now is putting puzzles together. She's now playing cards. She's playing golf again. She got her life back. Arthritis isn't something that should be something it's gonna affect you, but it's something that shouldn't stop you from getting your life back. So I use Nana as an example. She got her life back. She uses it every day, and it's something she swears by it. Now, I brought it up here because she's a little self-conscious to be on camera, but it's something that's it's a good, not just a good story, but it's something that you'll find if you talk to a lot of people, you'll get a lot of these testimonials that are out there.
I love that you just mentioned that, Mark, because actually, you all don't know, but Mark and I were talking about this particular instance yesterday. And I was like, huh, that sounds really familiar to me. I may have met Nana when I was working as a consultant at the dispensary, because there was a patient who was coming in. She had horrible arthritis in her hands. She couldn't even, unzip her purse, open up her wallet to give me the cash. So I had to help her with that. And, like Mark's saying, it's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to help you, the very next day, but over a period of time, I would say about a month goes by. And I don't know if it was Nana again, or another patient with a very similar story, but she was able to, count out the money, zip up her wallet. I mean, talk with her hands, hold the door. It was amazing. And she wasn't using any cannabis products before. This was brand new to her. So really, really cool to see it happening and see it working for her. And yeah, she was using topical creams. She was using CBD under the tongue drops, liquid tincture drops. And she was also using, I believe, some sort of ratio. And when I say ratio, we'll talk about that a little bit later too, but she was using high CBD products that also had a little bit of THC in there too. So it worked for her.
Right, right. And I should mention, I know we're getting some questions in here. We will be answering your questions, and typically we keep the questions, we answer them when we have a part of the presentation that addresses your question. So we're not ignoring anyone. What we're really doing is we're coming here and we're trying to make it appropriate for the entire audience as well as people that are there. So don't feel that we're ignoring anybody. We will get to all the questions that are out there. And thank you very much for asking them. Now, let's move on a little bit. First of all, before I jump into the presentation, I want to thank everybody for joining us. And as I mentioned earlier, you will get an email that follows up. And if you don't get the email, or if you've lost the email, you can go to Marijuana Aware. There's a tab that says follow up. If you click on that, you'll actually see this webinar that's posted, plus all the other webinars in the past that have been posted. And you'll be able to see, again, not only the videos, but the presentations and research notes. So you will get that. And please feel free to access it. Please feel free to pass it on to your friends. More importantly, you'll also get access to something called the Patient Information Brochure. We call it the PIB. The Patient Information Brochure is an online digital brochure. It answers a lot of questions about medical cannabis. It answers a lot of questions about usage for medical cannabis. And more importantly, there are ads in that particular digital brochure that give discounts for when you deal with the dispensary. So it is a discount guide as well. So please feel free to access that particular document. It should be really helpful to you. The other is that if you are looking at getting into, I know one of the questions was, how do I get a card? Well, we recommend working with the medical, I work with the Medical Marijuana Treatment Clinics of Florida. There's 25 clinics here in Florida that can help you. If you use the MMAW10 link or coupon code, you get a 10% discount, and there's a phone number here you can use to call them to set up an appointment to help you get your card. I reason we use them, I use them is because I deal with a lot of medical marijuana doctors in Florida, and a lot of them are great. But the reason I use them is because they have a dosing center, and dosing is one of the keys to medical cannabis. They can help you get your dosing right and help you get through that maze of being able to figure out what's right for you. And we'll address a little bit of that later on as we go on. It's here. And then last but not least, Trulieve is great from the standpoint of having medical marijuana products. There's a lot of people that are asking, what about hemp-based products? And so what we did is about 6 months ago, we created a site called My Botanical Wellness. It just focuses on hemp-based products, so we're not competing with Trulieve. In fact, we're helping to complement them. And it provides what we call CBD products. Now, these products have been vetted by doctors. So you know that if you go there and you pick up a product, it's something that the doctors are recommending and that it's good for you. So that's the site. And again, they have a discount code associated with that. So thank you, everyone, for joining us. Please feel free to take advantage of these and the discounts. And we really appreciate your time and for you to be joining us. And again, all of this will be posted in the follow-up. You'll be able to get that as part of the Resource Center. So let's talk about why it works. Everybody says, okay, I see medical cannabis, we see the results. Why is it doing what it's doing? Well, every mammal has what they call the endocannabinoid system. And the endocannabinoid system is something that people discovered and found out a few years ago. What's fascinating about the endocannabinoid system is that It's something that um, has been with us for literally since humans began, but was only discovered in recent years because of the research that was done in the cannabis field. So the question is, what is it? What is medical cannabis? Excuse me a minute. So if you notice in your body, you have Cb1 and Cb2 receptors, and that's why you see the light blues and the dark blues. These are receptors that are going on throughout your entire body. And what's interesting is your body has receptors. This is how your body works, is your body has these receptors that passes not only information, but it passes things between the different receptors in your body. Now, what's really interesting is that the endocannabinoid system, Cbd, Cbn, and Thc fit like a lock and key for these receptors. In other words, it works with your endocannabinoid system. And your endocannabinoid system is the system in your body that'll control your pain, control your memory, control your appetite. It controls a lot of anti-inflammation and also your immune system. So this is how your body controls and regulates itself. And this is very important. This is what they've been finding out and been research the last 20 years has really been fascinated with, is this is something that really is important for your body to be able to help itself that's out there. Specifically, the Cb1 receptors are found, that's the ones that you find here in the light blue. They're found in the brain and the central nervous system that's there. And the Cb2 receptors are also found, they're found in the peripheral organs, and they're associated with your immune system. And again, this is something that every mammal has. Not only you have it, but your pets have it as well. It's something that's really been out there, and it's been very effective. This helps explain why CBD works with your body, and again, addressing your immune system, your pain, your inflammation, your mood, that type of thing. Now, how exactly does it work? Well, if you take a look at the endocannabinoids, your brain will know, your brain looks at the neurons in your body, will tell you that there's a problem. And when your body sees that, it produces endocannabinoids. So in essence, you're producing cannabis type elements in your body to be able to have it regulate itself. And that's how you, as a human being, naturally manage, your body naturally manages itself. So it's a natural human function that's out there. And what's interesting is those cannabinoids then get passed over to the Cb1 and Cb2 receptors. And if your body says there's a problem, passes them to the Cb1 and Cb2 receptors, and that's how it addresses itself. Now, where do phytoendocannabinoids come into play? Where does cannabis come into play? Well, if you're, like, for example, I'm a senior citizen, I'm not producing the endocannabinoids right now like I was producing them when I was 30 and 40 years old. It's pretty clear that my body, it doesn't hurt to have, it help recharge the battery and help provide your body the resources it needs to help itself. And that's where phytoendocannabinoids come into place. These are what they call the buds, the tinctures, the extracts, the topicals. They actually work with your natural endocannabinoids to be able to, again, go down here and address the pain, the inflammation, and the mood, memory, that type of thing. I will point out that there are synthetic cannabinoids. Mirinol is one type people have probably heard about. It is a lab-produced component of cannabis. It is not cannabis. You can't reproduce an apple. You can't reproduce an orange. You can't reproduce a banana. You can't reproduce cannabis. You can reproduce some of the components of it, which is what Mirinol is all about. The Mirinol, for example, being pure THC, has medical properties, but really only should be used under close supervision with a doctor, because this can have some very serious side effects that you really don't want to go down that particular path. I don't recommend synthetics. I know that the U.S. government has approved one synthetic cannabis product, and it's exactly that. It is a synthetic. You're not getting the whole plant. You're not getting everything that's out there. I just think it's something that, unfortunately, due to politics, and I'm not getting into politics, I'm just saying because it's an event that happened, but it's something to be cautious of. Please pay attention to that. I really only recommend that you stay with the cannabinoids and the phytoendocannabinoids for your health and your safety that's out there. So.
Sure. And just to touch on the endocannabinoid system again, I mean, like Marc is saying, all of these studies are relatively new. And that's because the endocannabinoid system, it was discovered in the 90s. So not too long ago was it discovered. And again, if you look at the left, our body does produce its own endogenous cannabinoids, right? Endocannabinoids. And that first one that was discovered was coined anandamide, as you see there on the left. And anandamide, fun fact, is actually the Sanskrit word for bliss. So it's, anandamide, aka the bliss molecule. And then again, your body produces its own endogenous cannabinoids, and how else do you replenish them, right? Well, you can find them in the cannabis plant. So the cannabis plant has cannabinoids. As you can see, when we say cannabinoids, we're talking about THC, CBD, CBN, and there's hundreds of cannabinoids that still have yet to be studied. So it's really, really cool that we're able to do that.
Yeah, we'll get into the components of medical cannabis in just a minute. We'll have the CBD wheel, but it's important to point out the cannabis by itself has 450 known medical properties. So that's as a plant, it's probably the most, I should say, efficient and prolific medical plant that's been out there, and it's been used for thousands of years. I mean, in recorded history, back as far as 6,000 years, the Chinese have been using it, and a lot of Chinese medicine is based on using cannabis derivatives of cannabis itself as part of its healing process. But again, this is we're talking about the endocannabinoid system. So I want to be clear so people understand how this works, because this is kind of the key to, you might say, why is it going to help me? Well, here's why it's going to help you. Your body has the ability to produce endocannabinoids. You can actually augment and help your body by being able to pick up photoendocannabinoids. And when you take cannabis and when your body produces the endocannabinoids, they get stored in what they call the fatty acids of your body. So these fatty acids act in essence like storage tanks for your body for the endocannabinoids it needs to address any particular situation that's out there. Now, your neurons will say there's a problem. I have inflammation in my knee. I have inflammation in my shoulder. I have arthritis in my hand. I have arthritis in my knee, in my hip. Your body, the neurons will tell your body, problem. Houston, we have a problem. Here, it's here. And your neurons don't need a doctor. You don't need a doctor to know you have a problem. Your body will tell you that there's a problem. And that's important to understand. Listen to your body. When your neurons see that there's a problem, what it does, it produces the endocannabinoids it takes those fatty acids, breaks them down into long chain fatty acids, and then sends them to that part of your body to be able to address your particular situation. Now, this is important. A lot of people perceive that the cannabis goes directly into the Cb1 and Cb2 receptors. It does not. All it does is once your body produces the endocannabinoids, it then sends it to your bloodstream. Your bloodstream uses the Cb1 and Cb2 receptors to be able to address that portion in your body. Now, this explains two things. Number one, why, if you take cannabis, for example, for breast cancer, why does it work for glaucoma? Well, it's because your body knows you have a problem. It doesn't need your doctor to tell you. My mom's body said, hey, you have a glaucoma problem. And it produced the endocannabinoids needed to be able to address that issue. That's called the Entourage Effect. And that happens quite a bit in cannabis, where you have, Nana had a problem with her hands, and she found out that she had a problem with her shoulder. She was having trouble sleeping, and that pain got relieved and got put away as well. So your body will use itself to help regulate itself. The other thing that's important about this is one of the main reasons why you won't die from using medical cannabis. This is your body producing its own endocannabinoids to address itself. It's not a foreign substance. It's not something that's foreign to your body. This is something that's complementing and working with your body to provide the healing properties that you need, the homeostasis. What's your thoughts on that, Cassidy?
I love this slide, and I think that you did a great job presenting it. I mean, cannabis does so many things for your body, and I think that the word homeostasis is a really, really good description of that. I mean, it's completely bringing balance to your entire body. And like Marc said, that entourage effect, you may be taking cannabis for glaucoma or multiple sclerosis or arthritis, but you may also find that it's targeting what actually needs to be helped. So it's helping you with sleep, it's helping you with nausea and your appetite and your arthritis and all of these things. So cannabis is amazing.
Yeah, and it's something that's naturally been going on for a long time. And this is important. If you have some fears about, Jim, I'm going to get in drugs or I'm going to get addicted or something like that, that's not going to happen with medical cannabis. So let's talk about the plant itself. Let's talk about hemp versus medical marijuana. Cassidy, what's the difference?
So this actually, this was one of the questions in the chat. So I'm super happy that we're on this slide now. So the difference between hemp cannabis and marijuana cannabis. When we're talking about hemp, you know, it still flowers, it still has buds, but when we talk about THC and medical marijuana, all of those cannabinoids are extracted from the marijuana plant. So the hemp plant, sure, it has these beautiful buds on it, but if you look to the right where it says trichomes, the trichomes really hold all of most of the THC in that plant. So the marijuana plant will produce these THC flowers, or high CBD flowers, the buds on it. Hemp will still bud, but it's not going to have as many trichomes on it. It's going to be high CBD most of the time, and you're going to find trace amounts of THC in that. So again, you can get CBD from hemp. It's great, but you're also getting more THC from that cannabis marijuana plant.
Yeah, and cannabis and CBD, THC and CBD working together cause basically they complement each other. And just for your information, CBD regulates or helps it helps reduce the amount of the euphoric effect that you found from THC. That's why a lot of the people that are in who use recreational cannabis want high THC, low CBD products because they're after that high. It's like people who want to get drunk and want to drink and when they want to get drunk. But when you start mixing in the CBD product and you start looking at, especially in medical cannabis, which uses a high concentration of CBD to THC, you'll find that it's regulating that, and you don't get as euphoric, but you get a lot of the medical benefits. And that's one of the main differences between recreational and medical cannabis.
Absolutely. And, a lot of times you may find CBD at a gas station or at a smoke shop or, wherever. And that's extracted from the hemp plant. That's not extracted from the marijuana plant. When you come into the medical marijuana treatment centers and the dispensaries here in Florida, we're exclusively using the marijuana plant to extract the THC and CBD and Cbn.
Right. Now, let's talk about the difference. There's kind of this categorization. Tell me about CBD and THC.
I would love to. So the main difference between THC and CBD is the psychoactive part of it. So THC is known to have psychoactive effects, right? You watch your favorite movie and your favorite actor is smoking a joint, you know that he's probably using THC. The CBD is wonderful. It's really good for pain, inflammation, and so is THC. But the main difference here is that psychoactive effect.
Yeah, and you'll hear a lot about both of those. We'll talk about that quite a bit. But I think also when you take a look at cannabis as a plant, this is the famous Cbd Wheel, and they've tried to break down cannabis into various components. Now, this isn't all the components. These are just some of the most popular components. There are Cbd wheels that literally have over 100 of these little slices in there, which are kind of hard to read. But we really wanted to concentrate on some of the kind of the bigger stars that are inside the plant. So why don't you tell us a little bit about the CBD and THC components of cannabis?
Definitely. So if you look at the wheel, I mean, again, as I said earlier, there are hundreds of cannabinoids in the cannabis plant. So you can see here CBDA, CBG, and you're going to find trace amounts of these in most of the cannabis products that you're purchasing from the dispensary. But let's just look here for a second. Most of these are really good for inflammation and pain relief. If you look in those wheels, it's hitting a lot on inflammation. So again, inflammation and arthritis, CBD is a wonderful, wonderful thing to use for that.
Yeah, and I should point out, you'll find over here, you'll see here's the CBD. We'll talk about the different components in just a moment, but you'll see over here where it says reduces inflammation on the CBD side, and then you'll see reduces inflammation on the THC side. What's interesting is when you use CBD and THC together, it's like 1 and 1 is 3. That's the important part about it. They work together as they're very simpatico. They work together as people talk about them being cousins. The answer is yes, they are, and they work very well. In other words, you'll get much better effect for pain relief and for inflammation by using them together than by themselves. And that's why I believe in CBD. I carry a bottle around all the time for a reason. And it helps, again, if I get a euphoric effect, I can actually bring things down, but it helps in general with inflammation, which is one of the things I fight all the time. On the other side of the coin, I make sure that there's some THC in it, because THC triggers a lot of medical benefits, especially in the area of pain relief and inflammation. And that's, again, it's called the Entourage Effect.
Definitely. And again, the psychoactivity of the THC it's just a side effect of the THC and all of the amazing, wonderful things that it's doing for your body. So a lot of patients, they're not looking for that psychoactive effect at all. And like Marc is saying, the CBD really does balance out that effect. So if you're not trying to get high, but you are looking to use some sort of THC and get that pain relief, absolutely go ahead and opt for a product that has both CBD and THC and try it. And again, if you ever feel too psychoactive and too quote unquote high, it's really nice to have that CBD in your pocket to just go ahead and take a couple of drops to kind of balance you back out and level you.
Right, right. We had one question that just came in that might be appropriate right here. It says, sativa and indica are both in marijuana. They're actually components of it. It says, I was confused where it said sativa next to the hemp picture. Is sativa and indica and sativa apply to hemp?
Okay, can we just go back to that slide?
Sure, you might have to.
I think it's just 2 slides back.
Right back here.
Okay, I see what you're saying there. Give me just a moment to look.
Well, the name of hemp is Cannabis sativa. That's the actual biological name of it, where the marijuana is called Cannabis indica. So the actual name itself has sativa in it. The properties of sativa and indica, which again, I'll back up just one more slide because I want to make sure we get this question answered. Maybe a couple slides here.
One more.
All right. I love these progressive slides. They get us back up quite a bit, Well, I haven't got there yet. Okay. Well, we'll get there. Okay. In fact, I think that's coming up. I'm sorry. Excuse me. I've done this presentation too much. We're going to answer that question in just a moment. But I think it's important to point out that you really don't find the what they call the sativa leading or the indica leading in hemp, because there's not enough THC in the product to really produce that particular, let's just say, a medical effect. That's one of the differences between hemp and medical cannabis. Is hemp is mainly just CBD, very, very low, like 0.03 THC if it's a flower product. If it's a full spectrum product. And so there's not enough there to really cause a lot of the indica or sativa effect. And that typically only applies to medical cannabis. So let's talk about the different components that are there, the different components that are in cannabis. Why don't you give me an idea of some of the more popular ones?
Definitely. So if you look to THC, CBD, and Cbn, these are the 3 cannabinoids that we have bolded here. So again, the THC is generally known for its psychoactive and euphoric effects, and it helps with sleep, pain, nausea, enhances mood. So when we're talking about arthritis, not only is it physical pain, a lot of that pain is mental too. Why? Because you're not able to get up and move around and do all of the things that you could do before the arthritis, took over and started bugging you so much and getting in the way of your everyday tasks. So how does the psychoactivity and the pain relief come into play here? I would say, it's taking your focus off of that pain and it's uplifting you, right? The bliss molecule, it's making you happy, it's lifting you up, it's giving you energy to do the things that you need to do, and it's taking the edge off of that pain too. It's kind of like a distraction, right? And the CBD there, the non-psychoactive cousin, again, of THC, it works really, really well to treat inflammation. It reduces seizures and anxiety. So a lot of times patients, when they're using THC for the first time, it may make them feel a little bit anxious because, you know, maybe they went for a sativa, which is more energizing than the indica. So it's really good to have a little bit of CBD handy to bring you down. CBD, it provides, you know, an overall calming effect. So if you have sleep issues, if you're prone to any type of anxiety, I highly recommend. I mean, honestly, I think that everyone should be using CBD every single day as they would a multivitamin, right? Give your body those cannabinoids that it may be lacking. And then we have CBN. So I highlighted these products, THC, CBD, and Cbn, because these are some of the products that you can go in and ask for at our dispensaries at Trulieve. So we offer CBN, and CBN is similar to CBD. It's non-psychoactive, and it's really, really good for inflammation. So again, you're taking the CBN, you know, a couple of days you may not feel anything, but after a week, 2 weeks passes by, you know, you're able to, you know, move around a little bit easier. You're able to do more. It's helping with that inflammation and bringing it down. And it also is a great sleep aid when paired with THC. So the CBN actually makes your cannabinoid receptors a little bit more sensitive to THC. So, you know, if insomnia is your issue, or, you know, pain is your issue and you're having trouble falling asleep, I would recommend using a CBN product, right? Non-psychoactive on its own, helps with inflammation. And I would pair that CBN product with a THC product, because again, your cannabinoid receptors are going to be a little bit more sensitive to that THC, so they can take on more of it. And maybe that's what you need to fall asleep.
Yeah, and and the people behind the counter, the bud tenders, can help you with what types of products to use. They're trained on that, and there's a number of, like the CBD wheel. There's other things in place, and one of the things that comes into play is, again, let's go back to when I got into medical cannabis literally 8 years ago. All I heard about was sativa and indica, and I have to tell you, there's sativa and indica are still around. To find pure sativa or pure indica products are really hard these days because there's been so much research done and we've grown so much further in the last 8 years in there that we have a lot of things called hybrids. But Cassidy, what's the difference between the sativa and the indica?
Sure. You're saying you literally said we've grown so much farther, and we have. So sativas originated, I think, hundreds of years ago, hundreds, in Asia, and indicas, they originated again hundreds of years ago in the Middle East, in Afghanistan. So the indicas are better suited for growing in colder climates. They grow a little bit quicker than sativas do, and sativas generally grow a little bit better in warmer climates. So back in the day, hundreds of years ago, when they started, you know, migrating, they were taking the plants with them, right? And they were crossbreeding them. So these plants, I mean, people have been using cannabis for hundreds of years, emphasis on hundreds of years, since the beginning of time. It's been growing on this earth, let's be honest. So, you know, they were lower potency than they are today. I mean, maybe hundreds of years ago, they were 2, 3, 4, 5% of THC, and now we've crossbred them, and we've grown them, and we've made hybrid plants. So what are hybrids? Hybrids are crosses between the sativa and indica plant. And generally people will say if they're using a sativa plant, it's a little bit more uplifting and energizing. And on the opposite end of that, on the flip side, generally patients will say if they're using an indica, it works better for body relaxation, and it's more calming, more sedating. People will say, you know, indica couch, because that's literally how they feel. They feel like just lounging around all day because they've used an indica product. But, you know, as Marc's saying, it really is difficult to find a true indica or a true sativa because of all of the crossbreeding. But again,
You'll hear the term sativa leaning or indica leaning. In other words, it'll either make you relaxed or it'll give you a bit of energy. That's the leaning part of it. But it's kind of like, I kind of liken it to roses. You know, when you go to a rose garden, you see where they put a lot of things together, and they've bred a lot of what I call hybrids. And they've done it for a reason. They've done it to address different medical conditions that they're trying to address with medical cannabis. So there's a reason why this is all going on. And also, there's another very important point. I know there's some questions about terpenes, so we're going to get into answering some of those now. Terpenes are a very, very important part of medical cannabis. Cassidy, what are terpenes? And we have a couple slides on this, but introduce us to terpenes, and let's discuss also how that affects medical cannabis.
Absolutely. So terpenes are the essential oils of the plant. So all plants produce their own natural botanical oils, right? We've heard of like frankincense oil or citrus oil or whatever, and we purchase them and we put them in like a diffuser or something, and it's a scent for the room. And how does that affect your mood, right? A lot of times for me, if I'm falling asleep, I'll change the water in my diffuser and I'll add a little bit of lavender. So lavender is very calming for most people. And during the day, I have my little diffuser on right now. I just picked up a new citrus orange oil, so it's uplifting. So terpenes are the essential oils that come naturally from the cannabis plants.
Yeah,
So
we'll talk more about each one of them as we go along. We'll break that down. But before we jump into that, it's important to point out that medical cannabis is more of a holistic medicine. It is not take 2 pills and call me in the morning. This is not a pharma approach. The pharma approach is 1 pill for 1 problem. Another problem, another pill. Another problem, another pill. If the problem's caused a pill, there's a pill to solve the problems for the pill. I mean, that's kind of the approach. I'm kind of being facetious, but it's true in many cases. I've run into patients, literally, I saw one that had 27 different pills, which I think is just crazy. Most of the patients I run into have between 6 to 10 pills, which is, I still think, a lot. But what I'm trying to point out is a lot of this has to do with your body and your metabolism, and how your metabolism, quote unquote, your endocannabinoid system reacts to the medical cannabis that's out there. The best way to understand it is you probably have friends who have 1 drink and they're done for the night. You have other friends that can drink the whole bottle, they're just getting started. That has to do with their body. It has to do with their metabolism. This is not uncommon in cannabis. It's the same way. Some people are very tolerant to THC and CBD. Other people are not. Some people take a very small amount of THC and it affects them. It has to do with your biology. And so when trying to figure out, when people ask, what's the best to take? What should I do? How should I get this? The answer is you got to listen to your body. And we'll talk about that. We'll help you find your sweet spot. What
exactly.
You do, you go low and you go slow. You take some 1-to-1 THC to CBD. You take a little bit of it. You figure out what works and what's not working. Then you find out if you have an effect. If you're not getting any effect, instead of taking 25 milligrams, take 50. Like go to the middle thing in the eyedropper. Do that for a day or two. And then up that a little bit to where you finally begin to see the effects that are there. If you start getting euphoric effects, then back down, from how much you're taking. And typically you say, how do I take it? If you're using drops will last for 4 to 6 hours. So most people take them in the morning and they take them in the evening, okay? I have a condition where I have 7 herniated discs in my neck and I have 2 in my back plus a knee surgery. So I have a regime for the morning, I have a regime for the middle of the day, and I have one for the end of the day. Because my neck pain will come back after 4 to 6 hours. It'll tap me on the shoulder and say, excuse me, I'm here. Please do something for me. So, and people ask me, am I addicted to cannabis? Absolutely not. I stop every 4 to 6 weeks. I take a break. I let my body know that it's not going to get endocannabinoids to help it out. It's got to do its own work. I regenerate my body. I go back to cannabis not because I'm addicted to it. I go back to cannabis because my neck starts hurting. And if I don't take cannabis, I have severe pain and I don't want to live with severe pain. So I'm really addicted to getting rid of my pain. I'm not addicted to cannabis. Let me put it that way. But I think it's important to point out from a biological standpoint, dosing is very, very important. And it's different for everybody. And we'll talk about that again as we go along. But taking a look at the terpenes, so dosing is important, but also which terpene you're taking is important. I think this slide points out something where, and I'm not trying to steal Cassidy's thunder, but the endocannabinoid system is in essence in your body the highway. This is what carries the endocannabinoids to that part of your body that needs help. Amandinoids, which we didn't talk about very much, are really the drivers. This is what pushes it out there. The CBD and the THC, that's the passenger. That's going down to really help it out. But the terpenes are the ones that really help you navigate. It's the GPS that's what's out there. And I'll give one more anecdote and I'll let Cassidy take over. when I first had my auto accident that caused me a herniated disc in my neck, I got on medical cannabis, and I went to the dispensary for the first time, and the doctor had made a recommendation. Great, they looked that up, they could see it. They asked me why I was there, and I told them. And the bud tender came back and said, "Here's the product that I recommend." Now I was kind of new to medical cannabis, and I kind of shy about it, so I took the product, went home. 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, I did see. In fact, I saw pain relief literally within 24 hours. Okay, so check mark, good. So after a couple of weeks, I needed some more, and it was working great. So the next time I went in and I said, okay, so out of all these products, I mean, look at this dispensary behind me. Out of all this dispensary, how do you know, what works for me versus anything else? How do you know which medicine is working for me? And that's when I got introduced to Cbd Wheel, and I got introduced to the terpene. The terpene profile will actually help you figure out what products you should use. So Cassidy, with that, I'll let you take it away.
Yeah, so it really is a case by case basis. That consultant probably pulled 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 products in front of Marc and said, "Here, this is what I would recommend." But because you're a new patient, it's up to you to decide. So the cool thing about our dispensary, there's actually a couple of things. So all of our products are lab tested before they go out on the shelves. So how do we know what terpenes are in the products, right? It doesn't say on the inhalation cartridge, high in alpha pinene. There's a batch number on top of your product that you're purchasing on the label. And while you're in the dispensary or after you go home, whatever works best for you, go to trulieve.com and click on the tab that says product test results, and you type in that batch number, and it's going to pull up like an 8-9 page lab report, and it's going to tell you what terpenes this product has. For instance, it's going to say 3% caropholine, 2% alpha pinene, and it's going to give you the terpene breakdown. It's also going to give you the breakdown of cannabinoids in the plant. So it's going to tell you 82% THC, 5% CBD, 4% Cbn, whatever it may be. And then you're going to start to know. So the terpenes, they do have, they kind of have flavonoids and aromas to them. But here we go. Perfect. This is a great slide. The limonene, for instance, I just told y'all that, during my day when I'm working, I need that uplifting effect. So I'll put a couple of drops of my citrus essential oil. Same way, if your product is high in the limonene terpene, it's probably going to elevate your mood, right? Relieve your stress. Pinene is a really, really good terpene that alleviates inflammation. So I would say, arthritis patients, go for something that's high in pinene. Lenolol, that's, lavender, as you can see in the photo there. Really, really good for stress reduction, and again, inflammation. So myrcene and caropholine, they're probably two of the most prevalent terpenes in the cannabis plants. You're probably going to see a lot of these. So myrcene is really, really good for inflammation. It's found in mangoes. So just a little pro tip, have a mango before you use your cannabis products, and it's a wonderful pair. That's all I'm going to say. Caropholine, it has kind of like a spicier, more earthy flavor. As you can see, it has like cinnamon and oregano, and it's kind of spicy, but really good for inflammation. The eucalyptol, same thing. So look for these terpenes when you're going in there to the dispensaries if you have arthritis. I mean, all of these terpenes are wonderful, but emphasis on myrcene and caropholine in my opinion.
We just kind of took the top 6. There are, like I've seen, we had a table one time that had over 108 different types of terpenes that are out there. Again, terpenes are produced by the cannabis plant. Okay, and it's very similar to the essential oils that you see. It's an oil that it puts off. And there's pluses and minuses to them. And I say that because pinene is great for inflammation. It also helps with memory. Let me tell you the negative. If you're a PTS patient, do not use pinene. It's something that's not going to help you with that condition. In fact, it'll aggravate it. So that's why working with the bud tender, you're having a professional dispensary, working with your medical marijuana doctor will help you decide exactly what type of product to use and the terpene profile that you're looking for that's out there. And I think that's really, really important. Again, with the terpenes, you can really dial in to help you with whatever condition that you have that's out there. And again, they all have different flavors. They all taste different. So it's pleasurable, kind of like eating. It's a pleasurable learning experience that's out there. So there's been some questions about how do I use it. And I know when I got into medical cannabis, I jokingly said to a friend of mine, I don't see a lot of senior citizens sitting on the front porch smoking a joint. In fact, smoking may not be in the cards. So how can I take it? Again, in the last 8 years, we've come a long way in how to take medical cannabis.
Sure. And you may not see those elderly patients smoking a joint, but they could be using a cannabis product because it's not just smokable flower anymore. It's under the tongue drops, it's inhalation cartridges, there's capsules that you can take. And again, with 500,000 cannabis patients in Florida, sure, you're not seeing them smoke. Our dispensary has over 500 barcodes, 500 different products. Don't feel discouraged. That's just to say we have 10 different vape cartridges and half grams, 10, different flavors of edibles. But there's, again, edibles. There's crumble and shatter, which are concentrate. So they're high potency THC products. And there's also suppositories. So different people benefit from different routes of administration. So there's lots out there that you can try. And the coolest thing about Trulieve, we have a return and exchange policy. So if that product doesn't work for you, we know that you can find something that probably will work. Just, take it back, swap it out for something else. It doesn't matter if you've used it for 2 or 3 weeks.
That's really important because from a financial standpoint, you want to be able to try some products. One of the things about cannabis is it's a real trial and error. Again, you're experimenting what your body likes. Some people like drinks that are straight whiskey. Some people like drinks that are umbrella drinks. Some people like vodka. It really defines on not only what works for you, but what you like. That's what the cannabis experience is all about. And so what I like about Trulieve is you can try something. If you don't like it, bring it back. And they're very good about that. I know I picked up some products that didn't work, and I was very tentative, and it did work. They took them back, no questions asked. In fact, they were very helpful. So that's important. Let's talk about those different routes of administration. There are pros and cons to each one. Because as you're looking at it, you may or may not want to smoke something. You may not, if you're smoking, you may want to look at vape versus actual smoke itself. But there's options. So Cassidy, tell me about the options.
Yeah, sure. So it's not just smoking, even though in my opinion, flower is a wonderful, wonderful way to use your medication. But I understand, the smell and, having families and stuff, that's not always an option. And the reason why I recommend flower is because it's very full spectrum. And when I say full spectrum, I mean it has all of those, some of the minor cannabinoids too. Inhalation, these are those vape cartridges that you see. They're extracted from the flower, which is great, but you're probably going to see them, 50 to 85% THC. So you can vape your medication. If you look up to the top left, we have sublingual under the tongue drops. So a cannabis oil for you. This is really, really cool to start off with. It's easy to titrate. So you can just start off with, 2 or 3 drops, 2 or 3 milligrams of THC and work your way up. You're going to feel the effects, anywhere from 15 to 20, I would even say maybe up to 30 minutes. Give it some time before you redose yourself, please. But yeah, you can just start off with a couple of drops, and the cannabis is actually started it first starts to break down in the mucous membranes in your mouth.
Yeah, so, and it's something that goes directly into your bloodstream. That's why sublingual drops are so effective.
Exactly. So the quickest onset, honestly, if you're having like horrible breakthrough pain, I would say reach for something inhalation. Also maybe reach for something, edible, because it's going through your system orally. So if you look at the duration of effect, you're going to feel it, 4, 5, 6, maybe up to 7 hours. So it stays in your system for a long time, as do the capsules, right? Think about, taking an Advil or something, maybe, your opioid or your whatever it is that you're taking now. Think about how long that takes to break down in your system, right? Before you feel the effects. Same way with a capsule and edible. The edibles are awesome. They're packaged in up to 100 milligrams, a quick 10 milligram piece. We have chocolates, gummies, we have CBD options. We'll talk about that in a couple of slides, but topicals are great. Honestly, if you have targeted pain, if you have, let's say, arthritis in your hands or in your back or in your knee, wherever it is, if you can identify where that pain is coming from, I highly recommend getting a topical cream. Get that THC topical. The effect is there, it says almost immediately. And my suggestion to you is, I really hope that you try this. Take a hot shower, let all of the pores open up on your body, and go in for that topical immediately. And you're going to feel the effects super, super quickly. We offer THC topicals and CBD topicals too. There's also
I should tell you, when I wake up in the morning, I can have sometimes a level of pain in between a 7 or an 8. If I don't, with my regime, I don't do it right when I go to bed, I will wake up with that problem. Because again, the time period is elapsed and the cannabis is getting out of my body. So I do, right on my nightstand, I have tincture drops. The first thing I do in the morning is I take tincture drops to address the pain and the inflammation. But they're going to take 20, 25 minutes for me to work. I've been doing this for a couple of years. I know what my body does. So the next thing I grab is my vape pen. I have a vape pen that's right there, and I'll take 1 or maybe 2 hits off the vape pen, because I'm not going to live with a level of pain for 20 minutes. It's 7. I want to get rid of it right away. And when I take a hit off my vape pen, literally within a minute or two, the pain goes from a level of 7 or an 8 down to a 1. And I've got to tell you, the first time that happens, I remember the first time it happened, I said to my wife, "Wow, this is crazy." It was like somebody took a rag and wiped my back and the pain went away. But more importantly, what ended up happening was it happened so that even when it happened this morning, I still am amazed at how quickly it works. So you can mix and match these forms of administration. Like I said, I use vaping in the morning, and I use tinctures in tincture drops. I use tincture drops in the morning, middle of the day, and the end of the day. And I keep a vape pen with me constantly for the pain management. Because again, I get inflammation. I'm an active person. I am very big into some martial arts and things like that. So I have to be paying attention to keeping my CBD, keeping my inflammation level down, to really be able to manage my pain and be able to do the things I want to do.
Yeah, exactly. And it's all about finding what works for you. So what works for Marc is probably not going to work for me and y'all. So we recommend journaling, and we'll talk about that in a couple of slides, but always remember, start low and go slow. It may sound like a cliche, but honestly, you don't know how your body is going to react to cannabis, and you don't want to, let's just say, freak yourself out and take too much and use too much and start feeling super psychoactive, because, that's kind of going to steer you away from using it again. So start low, go slow, start off with the minimum dose that you can. And, maybe even wait until the next day to redose yourself, but find the regimen that works for you. Write it down, journal it, stick to the same products, and I'm so sure that you can find something that's going to help.
Yeah, I think you have to have some patience with this. This isn't, like I say, take 2 pills and it goes away. Your body needs to have some time to react to it. And on that, there's some questions that we maybe should answer that help answer that question.
Sure.
One of the things that Shirley was asking is, does the body produce fewer endocannabinoids when someone is using medical cannabis? What's interesting is that your body doesn't produce fewer of them. What happens is your body becomes reliant on the fact that it's going to get medical cannabis from another source. It gets lazy, is the best way of putting it. It's not producing less, it's just getting lazy. It's waiting for them to come along. So by being able to take my break, it basically takes the parts of my body that are producing the endocannabinoids and basically says, you still got to keep working to the level that you should be working at. So the answer is no, it does not. One of the other questions that came up, it says, and William asked the question, well, you have a good testimonial, so we may have you chat for a minute and tell us about it. But Bill was saying, is it true that our pain center is in the brain, and we are actually treating pain in the brain with THC, and CBD would be taking the inflammation out of the source of the pain. You want to tackle that one, or you want me to tackle it?
Well, I have a couple of thoughts on this. I think that sure, we do have pain receptors in our brain, and the cannabis is, it's treating the inflammation at the source of the inflammation and also at the source of the pain coming from your brain, because your brain is telling your body that you're in pain, right? It's signaling that to, you know, your hand or your joint, whatever it is. So I think that it's treating both. And again, we kind of touched on this, but the psychoactive part, it's taking your mind off a lot of that pain and making it easier to manage. So I think that the answer, is both. The pain center is for sure in our brain, but also it works by taking the inflammation, by helping the inflammation at the site.
Yeah. One other quick question that came up. Again, this is an anonymous question. It says, what is the mechanism? It says, what is the mechanism of action of CBD on OA pain, as osteoporosis pain, in reduction? Is there any known difference in pain reduction between OA and RA, since the underlying factors are so different? You want me to take that one? You want to take that?
Yes, if you want to go ahead and take that one.
So yes, OA is something that's actually affecting the cartilage in your joints and things like that. RA is addressing inflammation that's in the joint itself. However, the treatment is pretty much the same. The treatment is really going in and reducing the inflammation, whether it's due to lack of joint or whether it's just whether it's something that's growing inside your joints that you really don't want growing. So the action that reduces the pain is pretty much the same. So you ask, is there a difference in the pain reduction? And the answer is, OA typically has some pretty severe pain, and so does RA. So it depends on the individual themselves. You should not really see that much of a difference from the standpoint of how effective it is. It's effective for both. But again, it depends on the level of pain and how your body reacts to it. But you'll see that both of them are helped by both of them are helped by reducing inflammation, and also both of them are helped by addressing with the THC there, addressing the pain level of your body. The THC is critically important for being able to address pain. You know, there's a lot of talk about CBD helping with inflammation, and it does. That inflammation reduces pain. But when you want to get down to reducing pain itself, and we'll talk about that in a minute, about some pain reduction products that Trulieve has, that you got to have a certain level of THC in there to be able to make sure that gets done. So I hope that answers your question.
And then Kendra had a question in the Q&A chat, but I accidentally clicked answer live. So I'll just go ahead and answer it live because it wiped away from my screen. She asked where the best place would be to receive benefits for medical cannabis. Currently, you know, we're coming at you live from Florida. We're here in Florida. There's, I think that there's 33 dispensaries here, but in medical marijuana is in 11 states now. So I don't know what state you're joining us from. But in regards to benefits, because cannabis is federally illegal and it's still a Schedule I drug, no insurance is going to cover this. So all of this is going to be self-pay out of pocket. I don't know if that answers your questions about the benefits. If it doesn't, maybe you're asking, you know, where you could find the best deals. And I would absolutely have to say Trulieve, we offer so many discounts for the patients, and we're coming up on that soon. But we're here in Florida, and we there's a pretty large medical marijuana community down here. So if you're out of state, I would recommend come joining us.
Yeah, I mean, there was when medical cannabis first started out, there was a large population of people that, for example, migrated to Colorado because the programs weren't set up, for example, even here in the state of Florida. And they did that for the right reasons. I think today that there's very little migration going on, except the states that have very high quality and active medical cannabis programs. And Florida is one of them. Florida has a very good program. I've spent time in California, Nevada, Oregon. You know, I'm looking at other states like Georgia and Louisiana and Texas, and which are coming up. But you'll find that the Florida program is a very, very good program to be able to not only get medical cannabis, but get the advice that you need to help you with medical cannabis. I think that's a good, I hope that answers that question. I'm not trashing other states. It's such a moving target. It's hard for me to gauge how some other states are doing with respect to the products that are out there. Let me go to another question. Deborah asked the question: what type of topical oil can I get to help with joint pain?
Ooh, good question. So I can't speak to other dispensaries, but I can tell you what we have at Trulieve. We have 3 different topicals. We have a CBD topical, we have a THC topical, and we have a 1-to-1 ratio, so half THC, half CBD topical. I would say go ahead and try the THC topical. Also try that 1-to-1 topical. Take advantage of the CBD and the THC, but I think that both could benefit you, Deborah.
Yeah, I think that'd be something that will help quite a bit. Also, I think that one of the things that comes up, if you have a lot of severe joint pain, Truly even a number of other dispensaries make something called RSO oil, and it's Rick Simpson oil. Rick Simpson oil is known primarily to help people with cancer, but it's also known as a what they call a whole plant product, which means it helps with a lot of things. And I know a lot of people will take the RSO oil and literally rub it on their body.
Yes.
Use it as a topical. It is extremely effective as a topical. My mother, who has the breast cancer, also has fibromyalgia, and we use the RSO oil. We've actually rubbed some of that on, and it helps her with her back pain. So it's very effective for that as well.
The Rick Simpson oil is full spectrum. And again, I had spoken about the flower. Why do I love the flower so much? Because it's also full spectrum. And how do they make the Rick Simpson oil? Rick Simpson, actually, he was a guy who cured his own skin cancer by making his own cannabis oil. So he doesn't just use the buds of the plant, the flower, right? He uses the leaves and the stems and everything that comes off of that plant, really. So it's full spectrum. It has all of those minor cannabinoids, all of those terpenes are retained, all of that. And he was using it topically, but you can also use it orally too. So you can eat it, but it's a very, very strong product. So I would say if you're a brand new patient and you want to use it for arthritis, like Marc said, his mom found relief making it into a topical cream. I'm not completely sure how she did that, but I think that that's a wonderful, great idea to do. But yeah, they're your products. Be creative with them. Find what works for you. And again, because that Rick Simpson oil is so strong and it has all of those minor cannabinoids and all of the terpenes and such in it, it can be super effective topically for arthritis.
Right. Judith asked an interesting question: which terpenes are best for reducing inflammation?
Ooh, that is a good question. I personally, I would say go for myrcene, go for anything with caryophyllene and pinene.
Yeah.
Would be my 3 recommendations, my top 3.
And you're going to say, how do I know those are in the product? First of all, ask the person behind the counter. With each of the products, they'll give you the terpene profile. And if you have a question, you go home and you have a question of what should I get? If you're researching it, or if you already bought a product, you can take the label and you can see what's on there. And or if, like, for example, if I'm on Trulieve.com, what I'm able to do is I'm able to look up and they'll tell you the terpene profiles of the products that are there.
Yes,
so there's ways of finding that out.
Go to Trulieve.com. While you're in the dispensary, take all the time you need. It's your time. Have them pull out a couple of different products. Let them know, hey, I'm here looking for these terpenes. I'd like to look up the lab reports. Go to Trulieve.com. There's a tab that says product test results and type in the batch number and the label of your product says verbatim batch number. So you just type in that number. I think it's like 16 digits and it'll populate that lab report for you. And then it has kind of like a bar chart, a graph there, and it gives you the terpene breakdown. So it'll say 3% caryophyllene, 1% pinene. Oh, that's exactly what you're looking for. Sounds like a good product,
So Judith also asked the question, and I try to stay away from politics, but you asked the question about what's the status of the low THC bill. It's dead. It died in the legislative process. Thank God. I am not a fan of. I think politicians should do politics, and doctors should be doctors. And when politicians start become doctors, that's when we get into trouble. That's what got us in this pickle to begin with. So I think that, again, let's listen to the doctors that came. They're overwhelmingly in favor of just let the plant do its job and let the doctors do the prescription that's out there.
Exactly.
Now, one of the other questions that came up is, someone anonymous asked the question, says, I shop at Trulieve. What is the most effective product for reducing pain and inflammation? And I'll let you answer that question, Cassidy, but I think I'm going to preface it by saying a lot of it has to do with your body, what works for you and what doesn't work for you. I know that certain things, for example, with my wife and I, there's certain products that I take for my inflammation that really didn't help her that much. And we did find there are other products that help her that don't necessarily help me that much. So Cassidy, take it away.
Exactly. I agree. It isn't one size fits all. I mean, I can tell you a couple of products, but how are you comfortable using the medication? Are you comfortable vaping it? Are you comfortable smoking the flower? Are you more comfortable with edibles? Edibles, anything oral, it's going to last in your system longer. So if you have pain all day long, I would say, and you're looking for long-term relief, I would say opt for an edible or a capsule or maybe a patch. Something sublingual. If you're, if you have time to smoke or vape and that's your cup of tea, I would say those have immediate instant onset times. So I would say reach for your flower or your vape cartridge. But pain and inflammation, I would say ratio products. And we're just about to talk about ratio products. So just stick to CBD and THC at first. If you're a brand new patient, I would say start off that way and then titrate up to THC. But pain and inflammation, I would say CBD and THC products are great, but most importantly, how are you comfortable using the product would be my next question for you.
And I'll help when we go through the Trulieve product. There's one product for pain and inflammation that I think is best of breed, and we'll talk about that. It's my go-to product. So, but we'll get to that. You hold on, you have some patience. We'll address that particular situation. One of the questions that Anonymous asked was, are there commercial formulations? Hold on, why did this jump up and down on me here? Are there commercial formulations with emphasis on anti-inflammatory practices or factors? What can you recommend? And I think that had to do with the CBN product you were talking about.
Yeah, maybe so. Commercial formulations with emphasis on anti-inflammatory factors. So yes, I would say we have a newer product. It's an edible. It's a 1-to-1, so half CBD, half Cbn, and they're both non-psychoactive. And I mean, that product was pretty much formulated for anybody with inflammation. So maybe that's the commercial formulation that we're talking about.
Is it got a name?
Yep, it's called 1-to-1 CBN CBD edibles. True Joe.
Snappy name. Snappy name.
Exactly.
That's great. Yeah, the answer is yes, they are formulating products, and please feel free to ask the bud tender that's there. And this is a moving target, meaning there is a lot of good research being done, and in professional premier dispensaries like Trulieve are constantly bringing out new products to address different conditions, lifestyle medical conditions. So please feel free to ask the people behind the counter if there's here. So one other question that comes up, it says, Anonymous asked the question, it says, I have added an extra strength turmeric extract ginger combo and turned the corner on my inflammation, adding to my CBD. Is there caropholine in turmeric? Do you want to answer that question or want me to take it?
That is a good question that I don't know the answer to.
I'm not aware that there's caropholine in turmeric. That doesn't mean there isn't. I'm just not aware of it. I haven't researched the terpene profile of turmeric.
Same.
But turmeric is a very effective product. There's no question. And having it complement your cannabis product can't hurt you. Let me put it to you that way. And it does have a lot of anti-inflammatory components to it. By itself, turmeric by itself may not be the lightning rod that you need to solve your problem, but tying it with medical cannabis 1-to-1, that 1 and 1 is 3. Cassidy, you want to address that?
I think that if you're using that turmeric and it's working well for you, props to you. Keep on using it. And I don't know the answer. I don't know if there are caryophyllines in turmeric, but try it with the CBD oil. It may be the product that you need.
There was a question, someone asked about fibromyalgia. I know that Lena asked a question if I'm having issues with fibromyalgia and sleep disorder. I also have an adrenaline disorder. And you talked about which edibles you recommend. Before you jump into that, I will mention in the beginning of June, we are doing a webinar on fibromyalgia. And I have one of the leading doctors in this area, Dr. Michelle Weiner, is going to be my co-host. And we're going to be talking about fibromyalgia. So please join us for that. We had one last quarter, and it was very helpful. We got a lot of very positive feedback from that. And again, we're repeating that in the beginning of June. So please feel free to sign up and join us for that one. So I'll let you answer the question now, Cassidy, as I gave my shameless plug for my webinars.
Sure. Hey, Lisa. So what else would I recommend? Well, I would like to know what type of edibles you're using and what the dosage is. I don't know if you're eating half of that 10 milligram piece or the full thing, but edibles are great. I would also recommend you try those 1-to-1 CBD, Cbn true gels. Honestly, you can use them all day. You can also use them at night. I don't know if you have any like muscle spasms or anything like that, but the Cbn is also really, really good for muscle spasms and restless leg syndrome. So I would say maybe try those 1-to-1 CBD Cbn capsules. If you're willing to try something a little bit stronger, if the pain is, you know, horrible and breakthrough, I would say maybe opt for the Rick Simpson oil, the RSO oil, that full spectrum. And it's actually, I have a little brochure here. I don't know if you guys can see, so I won't show you, but it comes in a syringe. It's 1 gram and it's black, completely black. And when I say it comes in a syringe, don't be alarmed. It does not come with a needle. Again, you can only ingest this product or use it topically or not.
You'll actually be showing the product in a picture in a few slides.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. So we'll show it to you. But just remember, it's very, very strong, emphasis on strong and very, one dose of it is the size of a rice grain. And that one dose is 25 milligrams. So if you're eating 1 true gel, 1 square of your chocolate bar, that's only 10 milligrams. So we're talking about a 10 milligram, like 1-inch square in comparison to a rice grain 25 milligram dose. So double and a half is what you're getting. So start off with the tiniest amount possible. I mean, if you can do a pinpoint, start off that way. Try the RSO. It could be your savior from all of the fibromyalgia pain, I can't imagine.
Right. One of the anonymous questions that came up is that I enjoy smoking my can of medicine and I've developed a cough. Some strains make me cough more than others. I was just wondering about lung cancer. Any thoughts would be appreciated. Medibles are more expensive and I cannot cook cannabis where I live. Comments about why he developed a cough?
So a lot of times when I'm smoking too, I think that that's just a common side effect of vaping or smoking. But I can tell you, sometimes I will pick up a different strain that I'll pick up a different strain that I'm used to, and it'll make me kind of sneezy. I'll sneeze and I'll also cough a little bit too. And that's because the terpenes that are in that plant, in that product that I'm using, they don't sit well with me, right? So maybe I would just say, look up the lab reports on that particular product, see what they say. If they tell you, you know, it's high in pinene and all of your other products are high in something else and they have no pinene, I would say maybe it's the pinene making you cough.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of factors that come into play. First of all, you're right, different strains do have, again, it's based on your body. Some people are susceptible to certain things. Some people aren't. So you really have to listen to your body about what strains do to you. Some will bring on a cough, some won't. And what's the key to that? Look at the terpene profiles. Some terpene profiles may affect your body one way or another. I don't think again, the problem with cannabis is it's not a black and white rule. It depends on your body itself. But I would say take a look at the strains that are causing you to cough less. Take a look at the terpene profiles and probably head in a direction of some strains that fall into that particular category, you'll find them a lot easier. I think the other thing too is go slow. You know, I find it amazing. Some people get to smoking and they take these big hits, which is okay, I guess, if that's what you want to do. But I've always found that a nice, smooth, easy drag and then a little bit of pacing really helps be able to not only reduce that, but also helps you with how effective it is when you're taking meds that way. If that helps or not. Let's see. There's one question again, an anonymous question that says, I take 800 milligrams, holy God, of Motrin, one or two a day for joint and muscle stiffness. Would cannabis help eliminate and take away these pains? Also, what do you recommend as far as a CBD and a THC combination? Cassidy, you want to address that one? Or?
I definitely think that cannabis can help eliminate taking some of those pills. It can help a lot with the pain relief. So I have a couple of thoughts here. Where do I want to go with it? So the CBN capsules that I was mentioning, look it up on PubMed, that archive for all of those cannabis research studies, not just cannabis, just research studies in general, and type in CBN and opioids or CBN and narcotics. CBN makes all of the receptors in your body more sensitive to medication. So some studies have shown that if you're taking the CBN capsule, eventually you will need less of that Motrin because it amplifies the effects of that Motrin in your system. There are not a lot of studies. Again, the studies are, they're new and they're just coming out within the past 30 years and CBN even less. But I mean, try it. Try getting your medical card. We have the best discounts in Florida. I know that Marc works with a couple of doctors. I work with a couple of doctors. If you don't have your medical marijuana card, we're going to answer and talk about how to get that. But try a couple of things, try those CBD THC ratio products, try a 1-to-1, try a vape cartridge, see how you feel. All I can really say is try it seriously. And if it doesn't work, swap it out and keep on trying, because I'm so sure that you could find something that could help.
Yeah, I think one of the things that comes into play here is that at 800 milligrams of Motrin a day, that's a lot. That's an awful lot. That's a very high dosage. I would say that using medical cannabis will help you reduce your dependence on that Motrin, to be blunt, okay? I would be surprised if it didn't. Again, don't go cold turkey, just don't stop using it. I would say try some CBD, maybe go from 800 down to 600, see how CBD, I'll use a 1-to-1 to start with. I'd recommend that, and then see how that affects you. And again, if you're reducing the amount of Motrin using the 1-to-1 and it's helping, maybe again increase a little bit of the CBD THC 1-to-1 and decrease the amount of Motrin. So it's kind of one of those things that you really want to take a look at. And as Cassidy mentioned, CBN does help with everything that's out there. So again, your body will tell you what to use and how to use it. Don't go cold turkey. But there is a way that you can wean yourself off of the Motrin. I would try to get off of the pharma drugs as much as you can. Your liver and your bladder and your kidneys will love you for that. They will thank you for the rest of your life, literally. So
yeah, and just to bring up another message in our chat, it's actually a testimonial that I would love to share because I think that it fits well with that Motrin question. I'll just go ahead and read it verbatim. It comes from Mr. Barber. Says, I can give you a testimonial from a person listening tonight. Before February 2nd this year, I was taking opiates and muscle relaxers every 4 hours. I started medical marijuana and I have never taken another medication. I was a couch potato due to arthritis, heart disease, chronic pain, and spinal stenosis, and radiculopathy. I also have neurologic pain, tremors, and balance issues. Since I started medical marijuana, I'm back helping the wife in the garden, and I'm active with the grandkids. It has been my miracle worker. So I hope that patient's testimony helps you out a little bit, because that's a wonderful story.
Thank you for that. Again, that's a person who's getting their life back by using medical cannabis, and it's something that does in fact work. So thank you. We really appreciate that. That was very, very important. Yes. One of the questions is a water pipe a good way to administer flower and marijuana?
Well, I would like to take that one if you don't mind, Mark.
Please.
There are a couple of different ways that you can consume smokable flower. You can, put it in a water pipe and, some sort of glass piece and combust it with a lighter. You can roll it up in a joint. It's not the best way because you're combusting it with a butane lighter, right? You're hitting that flower with the lighter. You're often burning off the terpenes, so all of those essential oils and flavors in that medicine. So what you really want to do is purchase yourself a vaporization device. So go to Trulieve. We have a couple of different options. We have one that's $49, one that's $79, and one that's $250. But instead of combusting your flower, you're vaporizing it. So it's electronically heated up. You just put it in the device, your ground flower. You put it in the device and you hold the button, and it takes a couple of seconds to heat up, but then you're able to vape your medicine instead of hitting it with that lighter. This does a couple of things. It's easier on your lungs. You're preserving the terpene profile, and this really minimizes the smell too. So it turns the smoke clouds into vapor, honestly. So if you're out and about, if you're doing something with your friends and family, and you don't want them to know that you're smoking, but you're a flower person, I would say pick up one of those devices that you can put your flower in, and it works really, really
Yeah.
well.
And I think it's important to point out that different cannabis strains work more effectively at different temperatures. I think when you go to Leafly, you'll find there'll be a temperature setting for the different strains, and a lot of different vape products will have a clicker for different temperature settings. And the reason for that is because the product itself works better at different temperatures, and that goes against what you was telling me. If you use butane, you're probably burning off all of the positive effects that's out there. So what you want to do is, if you spend the money, you might as well get the benefits of it. And that's why using something like a vaporization device is great. Some people use shatter and crumble. That's another option that you can take a look at. But that's what shatter and crumble do. They help you be able to do that. But the temperature is really the important part of that, and to pay attention to it to effectively address medical cannabis.
Yes, I agree. So to answer your question, in short, a water pipe is an okay way to smoke flower, but I highly recommend you picking up one of those devices. It's insane and out of this world. It's a
So,
really good device.
so speaking of that, since we've answered most of the questions, how do people find their sweet spot? We talked about it's not like to take 2 pills, I'll see you in the morning. How do you find your sweet spot?
Start with the lowest dose possible. Again, with that Rick Simpson oil, it's such a strong product. You don't want to start off with that full dose. You want to start off by like breaking it into a fourth. So start off with the smallest amount that you can. Journal, keep a guide, and we actually have these brochures at the Trulieve dispensaries that you can pick up, but they have journals in them. It asks about the date, what product you've used, was it an indica or sativa, what were the effects, any notes that you want to add. But seriously, keep a journal, and as time goes by, you have this little diary of what's worked for you. And like we're saying, it's not one size fits all. What works for you isn't going to work for me. After you fill out this diary, you're going to know what you need. You're going to know what your body likes, what it lacks, and what's working. So definitely start low and go slow. Titrate up very, very slow. And keep a guide, keep a written journal for yourself.
Titrate up means I recommend starting with a 1-to-1 product, which is CBD and THC. Start with 25 milligrams, which is the bottom line on the dropper. Take it for a day or two, see how that works. If you don't get any relief, go to 50 milligrams, which is the next line on the dropper. If that doesn't work, maybe you can click up to 75 milligrams. If you begin to feel an euphoric effect, this is where you can hopefully have some CBD around and help you take you down, but also just back down, go from 75 down to 50 or whatever that's there. Then at that particular point, you know that you have, what your level of THC tolerance is. You can then up the amount of CBD to address things like inflammation and to actually complement the THC that's out there. And that's typically how you're doing it. And this is where you listen to your body. Your doctor's not going to tell you, your body's going to tell you what's there. But again, try it for a day or two, see how your body does, and then increase, and then go in that particular space. And that's kind of the best way to find your sweet spot. Microdosing is great. What is microdosing? Where you take literally 1/10 or 1/20th of the product, but you've probably heard of diets where you eat like 5 or 8 times a day. It's the same kind of thing. You're taking just a little bit of it constantly throughout the day. So your body's getting just fed just a little bit as you go along. And that's one of the things the patches do. The patches help you do that regulation without having to measure it all the time. It's out there. But as Cassidy said, journal. I found that the most effective thing for me was I noticed how it affected me before and after I ate. I noticed how it affected me in the morning versus the evenings. And I noticed which products gave me the best pain, best relief versus other products that were there. I don't know if that helps.
And
So
then
let's
I
talk.
see, just a quick side note, I see in our chat, Susan just stated, I got my card yesterday, but I'm gonna need lots of advice when I go to the dispensary because I probably won't remember everything that I'm hearing. That's okay because we're giving you so much information. But I know that Marc is recording this. He also has the PowerPoint handy that he can provide to you. And in our dispensaries at every single Trulieve, there's 82. You can go in and ask for a private consultation if you feel you need a little bit more time, or you can go online and book a virtual consultation. So you can have a consultation. I think that you have to book 24 hours in advance. So if you wanted to book now, your appointment would be, 7:45 p.m. tomorrow, but you can book a free 30-minute consultation, from the privacy of your own home. And that consultant's going to be there at the dispensary with a demo kit, in that consultation room, answering every single question that you have. So if you're not comfortable going into the dispensary yet, I completely understand, but I definitely encourage you to maybe go to trulieve.com, look at some of the products that we have before you go in there. And if you want to, absolutely take advantage of our free virtual consultations. They're free. And
I was
they're
going to
amazing.
mention it's free. That's the
Yes.
important part. Yes. Yeah. And really, you're remiss not to really get a consultation because they'll help you quite a bit with the product, with helping you get your dosing straight.
Sure, yeah, and you can see in these photos here, this is the general layout of all of our 82 dispensaries. So you walk into the lobby, you give the front desk staff your medical card, they get you checked in, they tell you about your discounts if you have them, and if you're a new patient, you absolutely do. They'll tell you about your discounts, you'll hang out and wait, however the wait is. It could be 10 minutes, it could be, maybe up to 30 minutes because it's a busy sale day. But that's okay. You're going to get back there. And then you see, I think that there's 12 registers in that particular store. You're going to get, you're going to go back and you'll be paired with one of our patient consultants. So you're in a showroom with other patients, but your experience is with this one consultant.
And it's clean, it's professional. I kind of look at it like an Apple store. It's not a head shop. It's a professional pharmacy is what it really is. And one of the main reasons why Trulieve has such great products is your nanotechnology.
Yes, I
love. What separates you from some of the other dispensaries?
Yeah. So, what is nanotechnology? Well, essentially, nano means like really, really small, right? So we have all of these super innovative nano products, and when I say nano, just imagine, you have this chain link fence, right? And you have someone just throwing tennis ball after tennis ball after tennis ball. Maybe one or two are going to get through out of the 50 tennis balls that they're throwing really, really fast, but not all of them are. So what is nano? We take those tennis balls, essentially the cells, and we break them down into like golf ball size. So now we're throwing the golf balls through the chain link fence. So the golf balls are essentially your THC and CBD and all of your cannabinoids. So they're getting into your bloodstream way quicker. And they're going to feel a little bit stronger because you're able to absorb more of the product in your bloodstream. So we have tinctures. Now we're talking about the ratio.
By the way, when you're talking about those golf balls and tennis balls, those are the molecules themselves. What you've done is you reduce the size of the molecules, and that makes it easier for your body to absorb them. And that's what nanotechnology is all about.
Exactly. And that process here, you see it says there on the screen, achieved through a process of sonification. That process that I was just giving you that metaphor for, is called sonification. So we're breaking down the molecules, we're making the particles super, super small so you can absorb more of it and quicker, essentially. So we have ratio tinctures. Now, tinctures are those under your tongue drops, and we have a 1:8 CBD to THC1, and then we have the opposite, 8:1. So the 1:8, it's going to have, well, as you can see, the 1:8 and the 8:1, one is going to be mostly THC and one's going to be mostly CBD. So we also have true powder. This is kind of like an edible for your drink. It comes with a little 5 milligram scoop, so you can dose yourself. You can titrate up if you need to. It's super discreet, super easy to use. No one's going to know that you're walking around ingesting cannabis, basically.
And it's great for coffee. It's great for smoothies. It's water soluble, so it's great just in water itself. And I use a lot in my smoothies. I found it very helpful.
Absolutely. I blend mine up in an acai bowl in the mornings. We have a vanilla flavor, we have an original flavor, and we have a, gosh, what is the third
Strawberry,
flavor?
I think it is. It's strawberry?
Nope, it's vanilla. Well, I'm drawing lemon. So we have vanilla, lemon, and original. And
Right.
and the lemon is so awesome in tea. So like a green tea or any type of tea that you like. Hibiscus tea, it's really, really good. The vanilla, like Marc is saying, maybe you want to put it in your espresso shot in the morning or your coffee. The original is okay. I mean, it does have kind of like a bitter, a bitter and cannabis taste, but I mean, again, it's medicine. So, all your Pepto-Bismol doesn't taste awesome,
Yeah, but
but
I have some of the original, and I find that it's very hard to even detect it's there.
yeah, exactly.
It's there. But you talk about your true gels and your drops. They're also very effective.
Yes. So we have all sorts of edibles. We have chocolate, we have gummies. We call our gummies true gels, and we call the nano gummies true gels. So they're 10 milligrams per piece, and you're going to get 10 pieces, 10 milligram pieces in that pack. It's going to cost you $30, and you can get these in indica, so more relaxed. You can get them in sativa, more energizing. You can get them in hybrid, which is kind of middle of the road in between indica and sativa. But again, they're 10 milligrams each. And because they're nano, they're going to be a little bit stronger than the regular edibles. So if you usually take one and that's your magic dose, if you're purchasing a true nano gel, I would say start off with half.
True.
We also have true tincture lozenge drops. So they're 10 milligrams each. They're super cost effective and affordable. They're only $20. So you're going to get 10 milligram pieces. You can get them in CBD, you can get them in THC, or you can get them in 1:1. So when I say 1:1, that 10 milligram piece is going to have 5 milligrams of THC and 5 milligrams of CBD. And again, they're $20, but I'll just give you a little bit of intel right now. At the stores, they're all 50% off. So the true tincture lozenge drops right now are just going to be $10 for 100 milligrams. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. And those come in multiple flavors too. Those come in a eucalyptus, they come in a lemon, and they come in a blackberry.
Sure. Let's talk a little bit about let's talk about your Delta 8 products. So we talked about pain management. And I'm going to throw a shameless plug in. This little black True Stick is, in my case, it's my go-to pain management product. When I had my knee operation, which was 2.5 years ago, I was Jewett Orthopedics guinea pig for using medical cannabis versus pharma drugs post-surgical. And knee operations, knee replacements are a serious operation. I found it worked better than Percocet, and that's just me. Now, I did research which products to take ahead of time. I did have them available when I went to the hospital. I had to take Percocet in the hospital on Monday, the day I was operated on, and on Tuesday. On Wednesday, I took no pain management pills because I wanted to get off it. And was I in pain? When I got checked out at about 1 o'clock, I was in a lot of pain. And literally, my wife went to the parking lot. I took some tincture drops, and I grabbed that pen, and I literally, after 2 hits of that pen, my pain level went from almost a 9 down to a 1. And I was able to keep it that way since the operation. That pen is wonderful. And I use the one, what's called the 1-to-1-to-1 which is CBD, THC, and Delta 8. They now call it Laughing Buddha. You changed the name on me. But I'm just telling you, as a testimonial, that's best of breed in my world. Let's put it that way. So Cassidy, take it away.
Yeah, and Marc and I were talking about this product. He mentioned earlier in the PowerPoint presentation that this was his favorite product, the 1-to-1-to-1 Laughing Buddha. So what is Delta 8? I know that we just talked about THC, but THC is broken down into a couple of different forms. So Delta 9 THC is that typical THC that we think of when we think of someone smoking a joint or using cannabis products or getting high, right? They're using Delta 9 THC, but we don't go around saying that they're smoking Delta 9 THC. We just call it THC and we're okay with that. There's also, the brother to Delta 9 THC, which is more calm and smooth. It's a little bit milder. It's called Delta 8. So again, 9 is the common THC product that we talk about that gets us, psychoactive. And then we have Delta 8. Similar effects. It's going to help with that pain and inflammation, but it's going to be a lot milder, and it's going to be better for you if you're prone to something like anxiety or increased heart rate, anything like that. Pain relief with less potency. So Delta 8, we talked about the difference between hemp, cannabis, or we talk about the difference between hemp and marijuana. So Delta 8 can also be extracted from the hemp plant. So Delta 8 it's legal in all of the states for now, because, just as you can go to the gas station and probably get CBD that hasn't been tested, you can also go to the gas station and probably get Delta 8 that hasn't been tested. I am not recommending you do this. Absolutely not. Stick with, going to your certified medical marijuana doctor, become a patient, and pick up this Delta 8 product from one of our dispensaries. So we offer TruClear. So TruClear is a very, very versatile product. If you look to the right, it comes in that syringe. It's that bottom right photo. There's 850 milligrams of THC in there. Similar to the RSO, you can use this, the Rick Simpson oil. You can use this topically. You can use this orally, but you can also vape this. So you can put this in your favorite vaporization device, whether it be like a Puffco or some sort of device that you can use concentrates with. But the TruClear is awesome. So we offer it in a 1-to-1, Delta 8, Delta 9. And then we have the True Pods, which is Marc's favorite product, that 1-to-1-to-1 Laughing Buddha. And that ratio is 125 milligrams of Delta 8, 125 milligrams of Delta 9, and 125 milligrams of CBD. So if you're a brand new patient and you want to try THC your first time, I would say maybe pick up something like this 1-to-1-to-1 Laughing Buddha True Pod, because it's got the Delta 9 THC, it's got the Delta 8, which is similar to THC, but it's a little bit smoother. And then you have that CBD to combat those psychoactive experience and balance that out. So I think that's why that works so well for Marc. It's really good. It has a lot of pain relief properties, and also it's really good for inflammation.
I mean, you can't get away from, if you want to relieve your pain, you got to have the Delta 9 involved in the equation. Delta CBD helps with the inflammation, and that helps as well. And Delta 8 is great. The three together, I find, are it's a killer combination, and highly recommend it. Give it a shot. Deliveries. Let's talk about deliveries and order pickup.
Sure. So we have 82 dispensaries all over the state of Florida. If you can't find us, don't worry, we will find you. So the average age patient who comes into our dispensary is 65. We were the first medical marijuana treatment center, and that stands true till today. We are very medical. Free statewide delivery for all patients age 65. We'll come to you wherever you are. Usually it ships within 24 to 48 hours. So that's good news. You can actually schedule when that delivery comes. And if you're spending more than $200 and you're under the age 65, so if you're 60 and you plan to spend $200, it's going to be free. Now, you can also place a pickup order before you go into the dispensary.
Well, hold on. If you're over the age of 65, like some of us are, all deliveries are free, which I think is great.
Yep, it's wonderful. So if you're over the age 65, you're going to get it for free. For everyone else, it's going to be $15. If you're not planning to spend 200. So there's that, there's our delivery feature, but also we offer pickup ordering. So some days, specifically Mondays and Wednesdays, there are our two major sale days. So often our dispensaries are busy. So you could be waiting 20, 30 minutes in there. But this is a great feature. You can go online or you can call our call center and you build your cart, place your order, and we'll send you a text message when that order is received, when it's been completed, and when it's ready for pickup. So you get a text message, hi, Cassidy Welch, your order is ready for pickup. And then at the very bottom, this is the key. So we have regular pickup orders, and then we have express pickup orders. So when you get that text message that says that your order is ready, it's going to produce a link. So click the link at the bottom and you can actually check in ahead of time. So you can check in before you even leave your house, right? So, because of COVID, because of the long wait times, whatever the case may be, they'll text you when it's your turn to come inside. So, you get the text message, you're waiting in your car, and then you just walk back to the dispensary. So it's super, super quick and super effective. So pickups, ordering, and deliveries, I highly recommend taking advantage of those.
Right. And that helps save you a lot of time. And you can, of course, register for all of this at trulieve.com.
Yeah, and if you're over the age of 65, it's free. You can do it every single time. You may not ever want to go to the dispensary at all. Maybe you're just booking the virtual consultations, right? And then you're setting yourself up for a delivery the next day.
Sure. Now, one of the things that's really cool is you got some cool discounts going.
We do. So text, if you look at the right, or at the left, sorry, if you want to sign up for our text alerts, go ahead and text that number and then text your phrase, true, whatever dispensary location you're closest to. And we're going to text you every single day that we're having a sale, which is often, which is great. So if you look to the right, here's our discount program. On the far right, all new patients get 15% off. All new patients, and that's a one-time discount. Once a year, when you renew your medical card through the state, you have to pay the state $75 for them to review your application and approve it. We give it back to you when you come into our dispensary, and it doesn't have to be, your first visit or the second. You can use it whenever you want because we have a log for you on your patient profile. But $75 off of an order of $150 because we're reimbursing you for having to pay the state the $75. So
and I think that's great. You're the only dispensary that does that. You're basically paying for the patient's medical renewal card from the state.
Yeah. So there's that. And then we talked about the free delivery. If you're over the age of 65, it's going to be free for you. We also have a birthday discount. So one day during your birth month, you can go in and get 25% off of your entire purchase. Now, these are the best discounts that I'm about to tell you about. So if you're a veteran, if you have served, you get 20% off every single time you go in. Now, if you're a new patient, all you need to do is tell that front desk consultant when you go in, hey, I'm a veteran, and they'll check something off on your file. So every single time you go in, that's noted for you, you're gonna get 20% off. If you're a SNAP card holder, if you have a food assistance or like an EBT card, we also give you 10% off every single time you go in. So that's another discount. And that veteran 20% off and that SNAP card holder 10% off, if you have both, if you're a veteran and you've served before and you also receive food assistance, 30% off every time you go in.
Those are all stackable. So the first time you come in, you get your 15% plus your 20% if you're a veteran, for example, which is great.
Yeah. And then we also have the senior Sunday, and it's for all patients over 55. So free deliveries if you're over 65. But if you come in and shop with us on Sunday and you're over the age of 55, it's 10% off again. And as Marc is saying, that's stackable too. So if you're a veteran and a senior and a SNAP card holder, I mean, that's good news for you, right? You're getting 20, 30, 40% off. So it's wonderful. Definitely take advantage of our discounts. We have the best discounts.
So Cassidy, we have just finished 2 hours of talking about this, which is great. And by the way, I thank everybody for your questions. We're not complaining. We're very positive. A lot of good questions. One last question I know that Barbara is asking is, can a nurse practitioner certify patients? A nurse practitioner can't. It has to be a medical doctor. And medical doctor has to be certified by the state. My recommendation is talk to medical marijuana treatment centers of Florida, mmtcfl.com. There you'll get an 850 number, and you get a 10% discount if you work with them. You do need to have a doctor to be able to do that. But really, I want to wrap this up by basically saying medical cannabis can help you quite a bit. But really, while you're doing this, pay attention to your diet, your nutrition. Talk to people. Look at meditation. Basically, self-care tied with medical cannabis can help you quite a bit. Your thoughts, Cassidy, and final thoughts on this?
Yeah, so sorry, I was actually just typing into Robin in the chat. So if any of you are interested in getting your medical card, we at Trulieve, we don't work with one specific doctor. We work with all of the cannabis writing physicians in the state. So go online to trulieve.com and there is a Find a Doctor tab. Click on that tab, type in your zip code, and you can click Map View, which is nice for me. Click Map View, and all of the doctors who write cannabis recommendations in your zip code will populate on that map, and just call around and see who works best for you. So yeah, balanced living, a sense of restoration and control, definitely. Take care of yourself. Use the cannabis products to help you, get out of bed and move around and get back to your everyday life, and talk to someone too. Try to keep your mental health as strong as you can, right? And using THC products, I think that this is going to help a lot. THC is often uplifting, and again, it gets your mind off things so you can go back to your regular everyday tasks that you need to do.
Sure. Well, listen, Cassidy, thank you very much. Again, do you have any other final thoughts you want to bring into this?
No, I think that this is wonderful. Are there any other questions?
I think we got them all.
Perfect.
So I think we're good. And I'd like to thank everybody. I know it's been a long webinar, and I want to thank everybody for hanging in there. And most importantly, thank you for your questions. Thank you for your attention. As I mentioned in the beginning, if we can just help one person get their life back, we've accomplished what we wanted to accomplish. And more importantly, I hope it's helped you find out the information that you need. You will get the follow-up email that'll give you the link to all the different resources that are here. I'm going to throw a shameless plug. We have another webinar next week on anxiety and stress, another important topic next Wednesday. Please feel free to go to marijuanaaware.com and sign up for that. That's an important one, and that's always a hot topic. So, in timely, I think, for today. So I'd like to thank everybody for being here. Cassidy, thank you very much, and thank Trulieve for sponsoring this. We really appreciate what you all do, and we want to thank, and more importantly, thank everyone. Thank you very much for coming. We much appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. This was wonderful. And just a side note, if anyone has any questions for me or you'd like to connect, I did throw my email in the chat there. I'm cassidy.welch@trulieve.com. Super easy to remember. But thank you for having me, and thanks for all the questions. It's been great.
Great. And Lynn, I think if you want to get off the pain pills, get into medical cannabis. It can help you quite a bit. I have reduced the amount of pain in my body significantly. And when I work with Jewett and I work with the different patients that were on pharma drugs, what happened with our experiment was all the people in the group that I work with all switched over to medical cannabis and got off pharma drugs because of this. And it was based on performance, not on hype, not on anything other than just people getting their lives back. So thank you very much. Everybody have a great weekend, and hopefully join us next week for anxiety and stress. Thank you.
Have a great night.
Bye now.